What surprised me about executive coaching? That's why coaching is a journey. I use the word the journey of executive coaching because it's a journey as a coach. That's what CMC does, right? Every day, CMC is working to help coaches figure out and evolve their philosophy and their own leadership of their own self. And so leadership was a really powerful part of my journey early on because of this mentor. And I learned how to work with my team. I learned how to work with peers in the organization. I learned how to work with organizations, parts of the organization that were not under my direct leadership officially. I learned how to influence those people. I learned how to work with my leadership and how to manage up, so to speak, and how to lead them and how to help them achieve their goals, but also how to help me navigate that tension between, the people above you and the people below you in your leadership chain. Hey, it's Daniel, and you are about to watch a clip from our free podcast, The Coach's Journey, where we help you navigate the surprisingly difficult path of building a coaching business by people who are actually doing it. And we go live, raw and unedited every week in our free Facebook community. I cracked the nut open with this one when one of the other executives at the plant took me under his wing. He slammed the door in a private meeting with me and said, come in my office, and sat me down and told me, "You're failing, Daniel." And the reason I was failing, as he explained to me, is I had my heart in the right place, but I did not know how to work with my team, how to work with the other parts of the organization. I didn't know how to do the people part of the job that I had really not learned about leadership. And so leadership was a really powerful part of my journey early on because of this mentor. And I learned how to work with my team. I learned how to work with peers in the organization. I learned how to work with organizations, parts of the organization that were not under my direct leadership officially. I learned how to influence those people. I learned how to work with my leadership and how to manage up, so to speak, and how to lead them and how to help them achieve their goals, but also how to help me navigate that tension between, the people above you and the people below you in your leadership chain, right? That can be a really strong tension because they want more out of your team, but your team also needs you to help make sure they're more productive, which means protecting them from the problematic priorities that are coming down from leadership. So there's this a really big tension there. And so I want to talk about the difference in executive coaching with the sales journey too, because it's a little bit different. In CMC, we talk a lot about the sales process and leading people through the sales process as you connect with them and you build this relationship, and eventually they may buy your coaching, right? But in the executive coaching, there's a few different paths. So I want to just mention a few. There's multiple distinct paths here. They don't all look the same, right? What I've seen is that it's ideal if you have some level of corporate experience or fluency in that corporate environment. It really I think is helpful. So it's kind of an uphill battle if you don't have any of that experience, and you may get that experience from coaching other leaders. You can get some of that you know uh, from that work, but it's hard to break into that if you don't have some corporate experience. But if you do, it's a lot easier because then you can talk about the things that you experienced in corporate as part of your story. Just like I just did. In this podcast, I talked about my experience as a leader in corporate. And I was in corporate for years and years and years. And so that's where I got my leadership experience. So one of the reasons is that I'm a coach is that I went through that corporate experience. I learned about what my mentor did to me. He coached me. I was like, what is that thing that he's doing to me? It's actually making a difference. The first person who actually showed that he cared about me in this company and actually makes me want to do better, makes me want to do more, makes me want to achieve better. That's called coaching and mentoring and teaching. He taught me so much. And so that's actually one of the reasons that I'm a coach today. And so if you have that experience, you can speak to it. But let's talk about how you get people to hire you as an executive coach. The first way is pretty standard, just like sales process. You have a direct relationship and to an executive, and they directly hire you. So one person there decides for themselves. They might have a budget, they might not, they might pay for it personally, whatever the case is. I've had people across the board there where either the company pays or they pay themselves because they actually care about doing better. Usually it starts with working together on work-related topics, but it really quickly expands because whatever's happening to them at work in their relationships is almost always happening in other places in their life, like at home or in their social life or other areas. There's a huge linkage between what's happening at work and what's happening at home. And as a coach, you can recognize the linkages between different areas of life that are seemingly totally separate. Because how you show up in one place is often how you show up in another place. And there's usually very common patterns there. So I usually highlight the dynamic of this linkage in the sales process before the coaching starts to set expectations with examples of past clients who they were showing up this way at work in a similar situation that the client is facing, but they realized that they were doing this thing at home with their family that was exactly the same thing. Maybe it's avoiding that conflict, maybe whatever it is, right? So that's the first way, you just have a person that you can be able to direct connection with. They buy your coaching directly. That happens. The other one is like what I call the second one is like leader first contagion. And leader first contagion is where you coach a leader in an organization for a little period of time, help them, make that choice to to get coaching for their direct reports, right? And maybe you allocate a budget for them with maybe they allocate a budget with you for that coaching process because they see the value and they can recognize that their team would seriously benefit from that. So they want people in their organization to get that coaching that they saw and they saw the value, right? And the best frame here is, how you frame it does matter, but it's how it's hard to, you can't really control what people in the organization are saying about what they see. And so like the best frame is actually the word of mouth from people who are seeing the visible change. Like, hey, we noticed you changing. Like, you noticed you've been doing a lot better with all these things. You're succeeding at a whole new level. Like, what are you doing? Maybe they'll talk about coaching, or maybe their team will start doing that coaching with you, and then other people are going to notice that their team is doing better, right? And so that word of mouth and that kind of viral contagion takes time. This takes a lot longer than you might think, but there's things you can do as a coach to improve it. You can also talk with them about their team and how they're working with them, and maybe there's opportunities there that maybe that team member might benefit from coaching. That can be a bonus that you offer, or it can be an extra offer that you make to them, right? Depending on your relationship with them. And so, like, I would also say there's the direct relationship, there's the leadership contagion for coaching. There's also like a company could hire you as an organization. They're hiring you to coach in their organization. These like corporate contracts will take a longer time. There's a longer sales cycle in corporate because they have formal cycles to go through, and there could be a lot of stakeholders to authorize that kind of expense, right? So sometimes you have to build trust at multiple levels, and you know it's taken some time, but I think executive coaching today is much more accepted. It's more widely understood as being beneficial to leaders. And companies sometimes do have budgets for it, actually, nowadays. They didn't used to. It was sort of the secret that nobody knew about coaching. But now today, like, coaching is pretty commonly well known, especially in leadership in organizations that are large. But it doesn't mean they have budgets, but they're more likely to today. So I think it's less selling in these longer term sales cycle, but it's more building a relationship with that company over time to help them experience some value. And you might have to do some, sort of free consulting or coaching at first. And if you're not used to long sales cycles, like this usually feels pretty hard, I would say, because they typically don't move so fast. And I would typically rather do these with actually a business partner or collaborator rather than just by myself because it's a long slog and it helps to have those partners that can not only help you navigate the organization, but also maybe help you deliver the coaching. So if the organization hires you to coach 15 people, you might need multiple coaches here. You might not be able to do that all yourself, not only because you have other clients, but because that's a huge amount of work, and having that split up between multiple coaches can really make a difference. So that's one way to think about the organizational hire. And the fourth way I would say is as a contractor to a coaching company.